students, my name is Shreya. I teach English literature, and this is the second part of the set of important questions that would help you in any competitive exams because they come from important portions like British literature, world literature, literary criticism and theory. Right? So these are questions from all these portions and they would help you tackle any exam, any competitive exam. Now the 10th question, we've already discussed 9. The 10th question is, following are the two lists of works and their themes, match them correctly. List 1 is a list of works. So the first list gives you two names. It gives you The Heart of Midlothian and The Tess of the Overlays. The second one, The End of the Affair, The Golden Bowl. Third, The Heart of the Matter, Lord Jim. Fourth, The Heart of Darkness, Nostromo. And then there is a list of themes. So the first is suicide, the second is greed, the third is infanticide, and the fourth is adultery. And the question asks you the correct combination, right? So for anything, before moving on to do anything and knowing the text or the detail or the theme, you should know the authors of all these texts because these are important texts. The Heart of Midlothian is a text by Walter Scott. It's a part of his novel series called the Waverley novel series. They were historical novels. And the name is derived from the first novel of the series, which was known as Waverley only. Right, and so the series, the name of the text that came on after that became the Waverley series. Tess of the Overlays is a text by Thomas Hardy. Other important texts by Thomas Hardy include Mayor of Casterbridge, Far from the Maddening Crowd. All these texts you need to at least have a brief idea, like just the theme or the main character. These are important, right? The End of the Affair then is a text by Graham Greene. The Golden Bowl is by Henry James. Right? The Golden Bowl is by Henry James. The Heart of the Matter again is by Graham Greene. Lord Jim, Heart of Darkness, Nostromo, all three are by Joseph Conrad. And in fact, these are the three important texts that Joseph Conrad has written. So just a brief idea about all these three would help you in the exams a lot, right? So now, Heart of Darkness, Nostromo. Heart of Darkness most of us have in our BA syllabuses of Delhi University or any prominent universities. So Heart of Darkness, if you know, is a critique of colonization. Heart of Darkness does talk about greed, and so does Nostromo in a manner. So Heart of Darkness and Nostromo, so 4 can be matched with greed. In Lord Jim and The Heart of the Matter by Graham Greene, suicide is an important theme that is discussed. So this one becomes suicide. End of Affair, Golden Bowl, infidelity, adultery is an important theme that is discussed. And in The Heart of Midlothian and The Tess of the Overlays, it is infanticide, right? So that makes A your answer. Moving on to the next question. Jimmy Porter and John Osborne's Look Back in Anger displays. The codes are A, rebelliousness, B, nostalgia, 3, restlessness, or 4, mendacity. The right combination is A and 2 are correct, so rebelliousness and nostalgia. Is it B, 1 and 3, rebelliousness and restlessness, a lot of ness? Is it C, 2 and 3, nostalgia and restlessness, or is it D, which is 3 and 4, restlessness and mendacity, right? So what is the correct? Now, Look Back in Anger is a 1956 text by John Osborne. It's one of the important texts which comes in the category of kitchen sink drama. And also the idea of angry young man. I'm going to explain in a little while what these are about, angry young man, right? So kitchen sink drama talks of the domestic space and how domestic space has been strained, how the institution of family has been strained by whatever is happening politically, right? This is post-World War. And the angry young man, because the protagonist is very angry, because the protagonist realizes that there is a lack of any structure to follow, there is a lack of any symmetry in life, and so because of that lack, there is a certain amount of restlessness and also nostalgia for the times that existed, and yet you cannot, the idea that you, because the nostalgia in case of modernism is not just for the times that have existed, because you can always create a structure and then start following it, but it's also of the fact that you know that no structure will hold, right? So the nostalgia is the fact that you can never back to that stage of not knowing, right? Just like Eve's eating the apple. So the regret is not that she's eaten the apple and she will have all the knowledge, but it's also of the times when you didn't know what is going to happen if you eat the apple, right? So the question is, it's a very intelligent question, in fact, because it's not only asking you about the text, it's asking you about the general idea behind all kitchen sink drama, all angry young man text, all modernist texts, right? So the answer here becomes nostalgia and restlessness, which is going to be your 2 and 3. So the answer is C. Moving on to the next question. Of the following statements, which is not true of Congreve's The Way of the World, right? William Congreve's Way of the World, a text it premiered in, was staged first time in 1700, and this is a text which is often asked in various competitive exams in terms of its detailed summaries, right? The options are A, The Way of the World was staged in 1700, like I said, it's true. It was played, B, it was played at the theatre in Lincoln's Inn Fields, this is also true. C, it was a failure on stage, in fact true. And D, the dialogue was unintelligible, right? So about the dialogue being unintelligible, this is not true. So the answer here is 3. And about the failure on the stage, it was believed, the audience believed that there is too much action that is happening in a single span of a play. So there is just too much action that is happening and it's confusing the audience. Little bit about the play and the main characters. So there's Mirabelle, there is Miss Millamont, right? So Mirabelle wants to marry this female. This female can't marry Mirabelle because of Lady Wishfort, who is her aunt and who has a fortune that she's holding for Millamont, and she doesn't want her to marry Mirabelle because Mirabelle back in the day had sort of tried to seduce Lady Wishfort also, right? And then there is a sequence of events in there trying to marry each other and eventually not even doing that, right? So the dialogues are not intelligible. That makes you option D. But for Congreve's Way of the World, I would advise you to go through the summary in somewhat detail, know the main characters, know the basic plot line. Next question is, the various symbols used in Girish Karnad's Tughlaq are associated with, right? So Girish Karnad's Tughlaq is a 1964 text. 19, not 17. It's a 1964 text, and it's about a 14th century. It's about a 14th century emperor in India who's known as Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and so the name. Who's a part of Tughlaq dynasty, which is a part of Delhi Sultanate. Right? And it's about and it's also about, it also plays like an allegory on the Nehruvian era. So if you know a little bit about Muhammad bin Tughlaq, he was a man who had great ideas, right? He had great ideas of shifting his capital because he thought the location of the capital is very important, should be centrally located. Then about changing the metal that was used for currency from gold to some baser metal, because why waste so much gold, right? If it's only about designating a money as money, why waste so much gold and silver, right? So the ideas were good, but the execution was bad. So it's also an allegory on the Nehruvian era. Now the question asks you, what are the symbols that are associated? Is it 1, the pythons, 2, vultures, 3, wasps, or 4, butterflies? And it asks you the correct combination, right? So the fort of Tughlaq, the fort that he's built, is compared to pythons, and Tughlaq himself is compared to vultures. So your 1 and 2 are correct, which makes A your correct option. Moving on to the next question. Which among the following statements is not correct? Badal Sarkar's play Pagla Ghoda is about. Important text by Badal Sarkar. For Badal Sarkar, you should know that he's a very important dramatist. He came out with the form of the Nukkad Natak. So as you understand Nukkad Natak now, performing it for the audience, performing it live was an idea that was sort of promoted by Badal Sarkar only. Very important text by him is Awam Indrajit. So remember the name of this text as well. And if you just know this much about Badal Sarkar, the things that I told you, he talks of the social conditions of people, he talks of the society, he talks of the political implications on the society, etc. Right? So just if you know that much, you know that he talks of political and religious conditions of the time. But let's just look at the other options as well. So is it A, the condition of women in post-Second World War Bengal? Is it B, the political and religious conditions of the time? Is it C, sexual passion? Or is it D, the lack of communication between men and women? Well, the option would try to confuse you because it is in fact about four men trying to discuss their lives, their love lives, and talking about their lives in general. But through four characters who are talking about their respective lives, he's trying to critique and understand the political and religious conditions of the time. Right? Moving on. Given below are two statements. One is labeled as assertion, the other one is labeled as reason. The assertion statement is, many modern British writers infuse their works with an extreme sense of uncertainty, disillusionment and despair. The reason, the writers were responding to the devastation of war and feeling disconnected from traditions of the past. In the context of the above statements, which of the following is correct? Is it A, both A and R are true and R is the correct explanation of A? Is it B, both A and R are true but R is not the correct explanation of A? Is it C, A is true but R is false? Or is it D, A is false but R is true? So now here, it talks of the post-World War era. Like I was discussing you with John Osborne's Look Back in Anger. It's a similar question. It's a question about the modern era. It's a question about the post-modern era. So it's about the responding to the devastation of war. So this is post-war. It's a post-war analysis, and the post-war did bring a lot of uncertainty, disillusionment and despair. Why? Because the structure of politics, the structure of religion, the structure of government were all broken down, right? People's trust on all these institutions, the structure of family, like in the kitchen scene drama, they were all broken down. They were all broken down. There was nothing for people to fall back upon. There was nothing for people to rely upon, right? Because they had all been mistrusted by all these institutions, right? So what was there? There was a feeling of disconnectedness. I don't know what my politicians could do. I don't know what my government would do. The government is promising me to keep me safe, but it would wage a war next day, and then there could be atom bombs that would be falling on my head, right? So I don't know what my government could do. I don't know what my religion would ask me to do next, right? So there was a clear disconnectedness from traditions of past, right? Because there is no falling back upon structure. And so whenever you hear the word modernism, you say there is a nostalgia, right? Why is there a nostalgia? The nostalgia is precisely because of these structures and the fact that you can never go back to a time where there are no structures. Okay, so your answer is both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation because it's the war that has brought uncertainty, delusionment and despair. Next question. In which of the following plays of Luigi Pirandello, the stage itself, the symbol of appearance and reality, becomes the setting of the play? Is it A, Right You Are, If You Think You Are? B, To Clothe the Naked? Is it C, The Life I Gave You? Or is it D, The Six Characters in a Search of the Author? Right? So it's about, if you're just looking at the question, setting of the play, the play is about a play, and the only one that talks about a play in any manner in terms of its name is Six Characters in Search of the Author. Now, Six Characters in Search of the Author is a very important play because this 1921 text becomes like an allegory for theatre itself, right? And then there is a play that is happening and characters keep coming in and you don't know what exact part each character is playing. So there's a confusion, and yet it's an allegory as to how theatre itself functions and what is appearance and what is reality, which part of the character. So if a character is crying, is the character crying because of something that's happened in his life or her life, or is it because of a dialogue that the character is speaking? If the character is speaking something, is it something that's happened in the play, or is it because something is triggered a thought process in his mind that makes the character cry, right? So what is appearance, what is reality, how much can you trust it, how much can you not, right? little bit about this play, you must little bit look at the characters and the characters that appear here. Okay, so the answer here is 6 characters in search of an author. Next question. In the sonnet Death Be Not Proud, Donne says to Death, those whom thou thinkst thou dost overthrow, die not, poor Death, nor yet canst thou kill me. What does he mean? A, death is very strong. B, death is not death because after that we wake up to live eternally. C, one must face death courageously and defiantly. D, death is not as strong as he thinks he is. Right? So death, a lot of people, the fact about our mortality is very, it's a fact that creates a lot of fear in our minds and heads, right? And this is the exact fear that John Donne, metaphysical poet, right? He's a metaphysical poet. What are metaphysical poets? Metaphysical poets are poets whose texts are characterized by far-fetched conceits. What are these conceits? Conceits are very elaborate metaphors. Right? Where two things that are compared to the tenor and vehicle are very far-fetched. They're very divorced from each other. Whenever such a metaphor appears, it appears like a surprise to the reader, right? For example, comparing the two lovers to the arms of the compass is a metaphor that is used by John Donne in one of his poems, right? So, what does these lines mean? So, Death Be Not Proud. Just the title only would give you an indication of what he could mean. It clearly means that death, you're proud because everybody is scared of you, everybody scares you, everybody keeps thinking about you, but you're not as strong as you appear to be, or you're not as strong because for me, you've not created that fear and I do not have the fear of dying. So the answer here becomes D. For Donne, the title itself and the poem, if you read, becomes like a challenge to death itself. Moving on to the next question. Archetypal criticism accepts as its informing principle that archetypes are present in all literature, providing the basis of its interconnectedness. The practitioners include, is it 1, Northrop Frye, is it Dorothy Van Ghent, is it Derek Travesty, or is it 4, Maud Botkin? And the options are 1 and 4, so Northrop Frye and Maud Botkin. B, 1 and 3, Northrop Frye, Derek Travesty. C, 2 and 4, Derek Van Ghent, and 4 is Maud Botkin. And 1 and 2, Frye and Ghent, right? So your option here are Frye and Botkin. Very important for archetypal criticisms. A basic Google search about archetypal criticism would give you these two names, and Carl Jung, right? Important names associated, right? So 1 and 4 is correct. What is archetypal criticism? As the question itself gives you ample information. So archetypal criticism, because for the longest time literature was seen as something that existed on the periphery, that was for leisure, there is no proper structure to literature. So archetypal criticism tried to understand the structure in literature, because for any criticism to be accepted, there needs to be a structure. For any amount of people to take you seriously, you need to show that whatever you're saying makes sense, right? So if you say that literature is something on the periphery just for leisure, it stops creating value for the society. So archetypal criticism tried to understand the archetypes that are present in literature, the constantly recurring forms that are present in literature, the constantly recurring themes that are present in literature, and the kind of shared experience that all works of literature have, right? So your answer here is A, Maud Botkin and Northrop Frye. That ends the series of questions that could be important for you for any competitive exams. I hope you found it useful, and if you did, subscribe to our channel for more such updates. Thank you.